Our next subtopic will be about EJ case, although I don't exactly agree with the term EJ case because it's prejudged. It's a prejudged term already by its very nature. So, but I still ask it because that seems to be the sexy word for the times. EJ case.
In the international arena, EJ case must necessarily be committed by so-called state agents, the police, the armed forces, or the militias deputized by the government. But in under Philippine law, all killings done outside of the law are categorized as EJ case.
Okay.
So even if it is done by an unknown vigilante that is not deputized by the state, it is still extrajudicial killing.
Okay.
And the only way that we can have
vigilante killing is also EJK.
Yeah, under
especially if, let's say, you had a daughter that got raped or you had a brother that got shot. EJK is actually another word for EJK is, I don't know whether people realize it, RIDO. I'm the first one to say this, no, but RIDO is actually a form of EJK.
Yes, of course. Because it's done outside of the law.
Yes.
So, and when we do not have a death penalty provision in our law yet. So, all killings must necessarily be assumed to be EJ case until proven otherwise. Because even if it is under the law, since there is no death penalty, that is still EJK, unless it can be proven that the victim was fighting it out against the policeman.
How do you tweak the issue of EJ case in order that people will get a better handle on it?
Well, I think we should refrain from using EJK. Just use the word murder.
Murder or vigilantism or RIDO.
Yes.
Or frustrated murder.
Because EJK is hard to understand, especially for the common Filipino. So let's just use the word murder or killing. Because EJK immediately connotes that the Republic is the one sanctioning.
State-sponsored.
When there is no proof that the Republic is really doing all those killings and sanctioning all those killings.
There are figures that state that even in the previous government, it was not called EJ case, but it was called homicide. There were quite a lot of number of homicides committed in the previous government, but today it's now being called EJK. So I don't know whether that's fair, no?
Probably because of the declaration of a war against drugs. That's why they are using that term. But
how would you reform the war against drugs?
We are the nationalist Filipinos against foreign intervention.
Okay.
Now, we would like to make it clear that drugs come from foreign countries.
Which means?
We should not, we should refrain from killing our fellow Filipinos.
And kill the foreigners involved in big-time
if they are fighting it out against the police, they should be neutralized. And if they have to be killed, they should be killed. And remember when Marcos had Lim Seng shot by a firing squad?
Yes.
Suddenly, total absence of drugs was experienced by the country, so that the drug addicts resorted to marijuana and cap syrup. There was total annihilation, extermination of drugs.
Are you saying that we should be running after actually the big-time shabu laboratories, big-time drug
the foreigners?
Yes.
Because as long as we do not send the message, they will not get the message.
Okay.
And all our efforts will be in vain.
You're talking about the supply side of the drugs, because or the manufacturing side of the drugs. That's what we should address.
Yes, because
not the small-time pusher.
Because remember, when Britain was flooding China with drugs,
With opium.
deliberately making the Chinese
Addicted.
drug addicts.
Yeah.
When the Chinese became drug addicts, that's the time Britain launched its war
Yes.
against China because the people can no longer fight. They are already addicts. So what's stopping another country from doing the same to us right now?
The same formula.
So the Filipinos are not the culprit here. The Filipinos are in fact the victims.
The victims. We are the victims, yes.
So why will you kill the victims? You should kill the culprits, the perpetrators,
Yes.
the victimizers.
And most often, they're foreign.
Yes, because we are not an industrialized country. We cannot even make simple chemicals.
Okay.
And it takes several chemicals to manufacture illegal drugs.
Question. La Peña being appointed in the customs, that's the right move because he was with PIDEA before, now he's customs. That's an acknowledgement that 70% or higher of drugs are actually going right through the customs already. They're no longer just dropped in the ocean because it's more expensive. So why don't you just pay the customs and allow the drugs in?
That's the problem. That's what we have discovered with the recent 6.4 billion drugs that was caught, which passed through the customs green lane. So upon realization of that fact, we now have, hopefully, a better customs head to prevent more shipments of drugs through the customs. But while we are preventing the coming in of drugs through the customs, let's not forget that we have the longest shoreline in
Yes,
the
yes,
world,
yes.
and our Navy and our Coast Guard is not really that equipped, no? So we really have to somehow send a message to the foreigners that they should stop doing this, and we should follow the example of President Marcos.
Or simply just go to this country involved and tell them, stop it. I'll use that word, stop it.
Yes, especially if our president will do it, I think they will respect our president.
I'll use that favorite word of the president, and I like that. It says, stop it.
Yes.
He should go one-on-one with whoever is this leader that we're referring to. Say, please stop it.
With the Visayan accent.
With the Visayan accent. Okay. There is a double tragedy, by the way, Ferdy, in Cebu because, you know, it's not only Shabu that's happening in Cebu, it's Nubain. Nubain, which is a painkiller. It's addictive painkiller, and then you inject it. And because of the exchange of needles, HIV has increased. And AIDS-related diseases have also followed on AIDS-related deaths. So it's a double whammy, so to speak, in Cebu. I don't know whether PIDEA or the DOH or the government can give its attention to Cebu because two tragedies are happening at the same time. HIV plus increased drug use, no? Okay, let's go now to the surveys of the president. What does that indicate? It went down. Are we looking forward in the next few months for it to go up again, or will it be plateau, or will it further go down?
Well, of course, we do not want to have a situation like that. We want a strong president that can lead our country. So I think it's because of the lack of concern being given to the gut issues, because prices have gone up. No? The price of electricity, water, transportation fares. Now there's an impending price increase in taxi fares.
This is the belly issues, no?
Yes, if you do not address that and you are viewed as a crony of the oligarchs, and these oligarchs have been hated from the time of Marcos to the time of the Yellows.
They have reinvented themselves, no?
If the president is viewed as a crony of the oligarchs, a protector of the oligarchs, an assistant in the raising of prices, in the overpricing, in the price gouging, then certainly the popularity rating of the president will go down.
There are views that part of the staving off of the popularity of the president is because of the death of this individual, the death of that individual, because of certain malevolent policemen. Do you think that's one of the reasons?
Of course, that contributes to the downward trend of the popularity rating of the president because from the ground, no, I can hear that why is it that only Filipinos and the poor Filipinos at that are being killed when the Filipinos are in fact the victims here?
Ferdy, I'll ask this of you, Chair of NatFil. We have a drug list. We have narco politicians. Should we have a list of big-time smugglers,
Yes.
big-time tax evaders?
Yes.
That will buoy up the popularity of the president and the perception of the people that this president is serious about its job, no?
Yes.
What do you think?
Yes, of course. Plus the fact that he should make concrete moves to lower the price of electricity, water,
Okay.
transportation fares, medicines. He can do that with his tremendous powers under the 1987 Constitution.
Okay.
And also, he must start embarking on a nationalist industrialization program so that we will stop the hemorrhage of our human resources.
Not just agricultural, no? It should be balanced between agriculture
Yes.
and industrialization.
The agricultural products will provide the raw materials for our industries to produce finished products. So we will be supporting our own farmers.
Agrarian reform is already, in other countries, they're consolidating properties. Here, we're still giving it away.
Yeah, we should rethink agrarian reform. We should reinvent agrarian reform. And we should go towards productivity so that the farmers will become rich.
Land productivity, not just land distribution.
Yes, because the ultimate goal must be to make the people rich so that they will have the purchasing power to buy the made in the Philippines products of our industries.
Okay, let's talk about barangay elections postponement. How do you see this? They will be held over again up to next year?
I think that's good, no? Because the original plan was to appoint
Yes, appointive, no?
replacements for the...
And that would be very unpopular.
not only unpopular, but it will create a constitutional crisis. What if the Supreme Court says that it is unconstitutional?
Why
and
not?
the executive department will not obey the Supreme Court.
But you will be in agreement that certain politicians which are in the drug list, barangay captains, etc., which are infested with drugs, should be replaced or should be suspended by the president.
Yes, of course, if there is evidence.
Evidence, yeah.
So we have to strengthen the capability of the police and the PDEA to get evidence. Because
Yes.
we cannot just say that this one is
Yeah.
involved in drugs, that one is involved in drugs without any evidence. So we have to equip, we have to train our law enforcement officers so that they will know how to
Do their jobs.
do their jobs properly without resorting to killing right away.
This would be the right direction, suspending politicians instead of just like dying for them dying in
Yes,
in-
yes,
on
yes.
jails, no?
Oo.
Final issue. We don't have time, no? Fake news. Is there such a thing as fake news? Because as far as my training is concerned, news is supposed to be truthful. It's supposed to be, triangulated. It should be independent. It should be accountable. So it's an oxymoron.
Yeah.
Fake news. So what do you think? Is there such a thing,
Uh,
or is just propaganda?
those two words are contradictory, no?
Yes, yes.
It's either you are news or not, because news must necessarily be genuine.
Truth, yes.
So, of course, there is the existence of so-called fake news, no? Because
Yes.
I've seen it for myself. No?
Again, it's a sexy term. That's why people like they use the word fake news. Yes.
But I would rather call it as propaganda
Yes.
rather than fake news. To make it clear that news must necessarily be truthful and genuine.
And fake news is nothing new. It started a long time ago, even
Yes.
during the time of Hitler,
Yes.
Goebbels. Undeserved praise is actually fake news.
Even from the time of the Persian Empire,
Yes.
the Greek Empire, the Roman Empire, propaganda is necessary to win the battle for the hearts and minds of the people.
Okay. So we went through the entire list. I think we just we practically covered 99% of the issues. Maybe next time we'll talk about the national security threats externally in our country. So we'd like to thank Ferdy. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mabuhay ang NatFil.
Mabuhay ang Republika ng Pilipinas.
Mabuhay ang NatFil. I always prefer nationalists because there's a saying that the journalists love the poet. The poet are enamored and in love with the communist. And the communists, they're in love with themselves. This has been Eric Espina. Wala na po tayong panahon magmasid, makialam, higit sa lahat ay manindigan. Dahil wala pong magmamahal sa Pilipino kung hindi ang Pilipino. Daghang salamat, mayong gabi kaninyong tanan.